How are you?
Really well, actually, Helen. Really well.
Ooh. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
So your email was one of the first that I got randomly after we launched the
Really?
C list. Yeah, do you know what? It meant the absolute bomb to hear from you. And also,
Oh,
my mum's called Jane, and I lost her when I was going through chemo, and it was just so nice to see Jane in my inbox. um, so I just wondered if you could tell me a bit about your story, about what's
yeah.
true.
It's been really strange, actually, because I've not been right for about 2 years, but nothing to do with the cancer. So not last year, the year before, I'd got severe chronic anemia, which got treated. But on the back of that, they picked up a liver condition called primary biliary cholangitis, I think it is, which is treatable, which is not life-threatening or anything like that, which was such a relief. So I'd gone through the endoscopy, the 55-year-old, you have the endoscopy
Yeah.
and all that. Everything came back okay. I'd gone through scans, um, felt really well until June last year, I think it was, and I started feeling breathless again with the anemia. But nothing that would send me to the doctors, nothing at all that would send me to the doctors. But my bloods, I had a meeting with the liver consultant and my bloods were fine.
Hmm.
But then in September, it was really random. I went into a face-to-face consultation with him, but it was like, I don't know what you're doing here because you could have done a telephone call. I'm like, oh, well, it's lovely to see you anyway, but you know how you do it. So he says, well, while you're here, we'll take your bloods. So he took my bloods, and 3 days later rang me saying I'd got to have an endoscopy, the colonoscopy, and all that
Oh
lot.
my goodness.
And I actually saw the cancer when they were doing the colonoscopy.
No, really? You saw the tumor
Yeah,
on the screen, right?
yeah, yeah. So obviously, you can imagine absolutely devastated because thinking that everything was all right because I'd had no symptoms. I'd had no symptoms at all,
Wow.
other than the tiredness. But I thought put that down to the anemia because
Yeah,
the anemia knocks you for six anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they discovered that I'd got the bowel cancer. And then I went, they've been brilliant. I've got to say, the hospital have been amazing.
Oh,
The next day, I went for an MRI scan and they found it on my bowel and a shadow on my lung. So we were then talking about palliative care. So me and my husband were in, and it was like, oh, this is devastating. Because there's been absolutely no signs. Because sometimes you work up to it, don't you? Then
yeah,
half
you
expect
do. Yeah,
there was
yeah, you do.
absolutely no signs at all. Um, and then we were devastated. So we had a few really black weeks. But then they got the results from the PET scan back, and we went in again, and it was awful actually, Helen, because we went into this very very small room, and we've got the consultant, we've got the sister, I'd got another doctor behind me, which I'm presuming was the liver doctor, and then another nurse came in, and I thought this is going to be bad news. This is,
Oh
but
God.
actually, when I looked into their eyes, it was really strange because you've got your face mask on.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt, I don't think this is going to be as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Right.
So straight in, you start on your lymph nodes. We're going to put you on a curative plan. Let's get going. And that was it. And so it's just been since September, it's just been a whirlwind. But
Wow.
I feel so lucky that I'd got that other condition because there's still nothing now that would send me to the doctors.
Yeah.
And I'd be riddled with it by now.
And the fact that you actually physically went that day to see the doctor, who otherwise, if you'd had the telephone consultation, you probably wouldn't have done the blood tests, maybe. Where are you at now with your treatment then?
So I had my last lot of chemo last week. So I've had 4 cycles.
Right,
But apparently, fortunately, my friend's a researcher, a cancer research
right.
practitioner at the hospital. So I'm able to ask her quite a few
That,
questions. And
that's
apparently, the chemo that I've had is really, really strong. So, and it should have been more cycles, but actually, I think they're trying to zap it so that I can,
quickly. So
yeah,
was it an oral chemo, or was it the one? Did you
I'm
have
on
one?
oral,
It was an
both.
oral.
I've been going in sort of every 3 weeks on, well, no, every 3 weeks on a Tuesday to have intravenous. That's for my liver.
Yeah.
And then I'm still taking the chemo. I'm still taking the tablets
Right.
oral till next Tuesday.
Yeah, because I hear from
So
that the side effects from the chemo for bowel cancer, they can be quite tough. Are you getting the
been tough.
nausea and the
Yeah, it's been
How are your
I
hands?
think,
How are your hands?
oh, the horrible,
Are they?
horrible.
Is it
But
dry
that's
skin or is it
no. Well, I think well,
peripheral?
I've just sorry, I keep interrupting
Don't
you,
worry,
don't
don't
I?
worry.
I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. Because it's intravenous.
Yeah.
It's the intravenous one that affects my hands. So actually, the tingling now. So if I get cold, it's like an electric shock
Oh,
that goes up
horrible.
your eye. It's horrible. It's awful. And I can't. When I first have it's really strange. When I first have the intravenous chemo, I come out of the hospital and it's like I'm paralytic.
Oh,
I
really?
can't speak. I can't walk very well.
Oh, gosh.
It's really not nice at all. But I think it's because it's such a high dose they've given
Yeah.
me. When I get home, all you really want is a nice cold drink, isn't it? But I can't have a cold drink because it feels like my throat's swelling up.
Oh,
So the
no.
tingling that I'm getting in my hands and my feet, I'm getting that sensation in my throat. So I can't, even now, if it's too cold, I
Really?
can't
And do
drink
you
it.
have a loss of appetite as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that can come with bowel cancer, can't it? With that treatment.
Yeah. I mean, I was fine, but I do find that the chemo tablets do affect my appetite. They
Mm,
really do affect my appetite because when I'm not on them, because I'll
mm,
finish them next Tuesday, I have a really good week and I
yeah,
feel really well.
yeah,
And then I go back in. I go in from the chemo on the Tuesday feeling absolutely amazing, best I've felt for months. And
yeah,
then within 2 hours, I'm like, oh God,
yeah.
I'm not overly religious, but I do feel like somebody up there, whether it's my mum or whoever it is looking after me because I just would not have known.
Isn't that amazing?
And it
It
was
gives,
fate that I
gives
went
me
to the doctor.
goosebumps to think about that.
Yeah,
So the reason I wanted to touch base with you today was one to say thank you for your lovely email and for being one of the first people to contact me after we launched the C-List website. But also too, the idea with the site is that where people buy products, I get a small percentage come back to me on each product, a minimal amount. But what I want to do with that is gift it to somebody who's going through cancer treatment. And randomly, your name was picked out for this month for the first thing. So I'm going to be sending you in the post. I've got in my little C-List goodie bag all sorts of products, including I've got amazing Weleda skin food. I've got magnetic eyelashes for you. There's hand creams, there's body washes. There's even an LMS eye mask, which are brilliant for bags under your eyes. There's nail polish, and all these things are cancer kinder, shall we say? They're
that's amazing. I wasn't expecting that. That's lovely. Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I want you to feel like we're giving you a bit of a hug and that you're doing a great job. And I know how hard it is. I know how hard
I was
it is.
thrilled when I got your email because it
Oh,
was like, I'd seen you on the telly and you were so inspirational on Lorraine, and I just thought I'd love to talk to her in person,
oh,
just to get that